All right, what's up, everyone? Video 2. Let's start it up, make sure everything works again, but we're in the same exact place. And by the way, for people that don't know, if you want to stop something running in your terminal at any time, you just hit Control C. So perfect. It's like the universal stop symbol. And then this is our other tab. All right. So once this compiles, after I so rudely stopped it, we'll refresh, Control Shift R. Everything's where we left it. Okay, so let's talk about designing something that you don't necessarily know what it's supposed to look like yet, or what it's supposed to do yet. And a lot of people will say, oh, you should totally make like a wireframe mock-up of all your pages and stuff like that, right? And yeah, that's good, but what if we don't know exactly all the features we're going to have? Maybe you're just making a social media where the person can post an image or a description or just tweet something or whatever, right? That's easy enough. In my particular case, I was trying to develop something that didn't necessarily exist yet, as in something where you have a title, you can have an image, you can update it with another title, that's the progress name, and it has a description and an image of its own, right? So you're going to have multiple titles and descriptions. So my best advice here, and I already talked about this, is one, look at existing things that closely match what you're looking for. Again, let's use Reddit because you don't have to sign in to use it. And let's just look at hiking, for example. Here you have posts that have a title and description, but don't have an image, and have title and image and possibly a description as well, right? How's Reddit handle that? When you have an image, you don't show the description, and it's only until you click into it. That one didn't have a description anyway. It's only until you click into it, if I could find one that does have that it shows it after, right? So that's how Reddit in particular handles it. I'm sure Twitter would do it a different way, but let's just say some tweets. You need I guess it's X now. You need an account to look at these. So sorry, I'm not going to make an account. Here's a good one. Congrats, Obama, Mr. Obama. They just have a description and an image. Okay, fine, that works. They don't have a title. So maybe Reddit's the most relevant thing to what we're doing at the moment. So more or less, we can do something like this, right? They don't, yeah. So that's what I would say. Get as close as you possibly can, and then kind of jump into it with whatever. So that's going to be important so you can generally shape what you're looking at. I actually recorded. So what I was saying about all this stuff is it's super important to have a general idea of what you're looking at. That way you can at least design the core concept of something. You don't have to do a lot of modifications later. Again, everyone's going to tell you just do it from the beginning, but that's not always a possibility, especially when you're creating something novel. So to give you guys kind of an idea of this, I documented the actual build of Opus, just the goal display part, because the goal display is something I went back and forth so many times on. Let's kind of look at the history of that really quick. This was the first goal design 3 years ago. This is June 14th, 2022. The whole idea, this was a progress line, and you could click these dots to toggle which one you want to see. My idea was so you can really see instantaneously, like before and after of something, right? Okay, if this is like some dumb movie, and then you have a bunch of facial expression stuff, plastic surgery, whatever. This is a bad example, but you get what I'm trying to say. What if we said art? Right? Exactly. This is exactly what I was trying to show. This person's drawn an alien, and then here they're drawing a human. Congrats to them. So that was the idea here. This has a problem. Try to think of extremes as well. What if a user has 50 progress? Now you're going to have 50 lines here, 50 dots on your line, and 50 images here. So what would happen is if you click this one would disappear. If you click it again, it would come back. Then I got rid of the line to be more minimal, and I just left dots like this. So this goal only has one progress, this goal only has one progress, but we can see multiple people. That was one of the first goals actually people started pointing out, is squatting goals, which is interesting. And then now we can see the comparison. So let's kind of stop here. Now, again, see how many progress we have. I would always show the first and the last because I want that instantaneous comparison. And then for every one you toggled, I would show the date here and the user and the goal name and stuff like that. And if you completed it, you'd get a lock, something like that. But like I said in the last video, there's a reason things are designed how they are on the internet. On mobile, what are you supposed to do here? You would collapse them maybe and put them side by side, right? Or on top, on bottom of each other. But this design really only works for desktop. The more traditional design that you see on all websites, just the image, the username, the title, and the description at the bottom, right? And everything, and all the different buttons you click down here that you see everywhere, like this. There's a reason it's done like that, because it works and it's really easy. Here, of course, I had the progress line still. You could toggle each one. What's every other website do? They make it so that if you want to see more, you just click into it. So that's kind of the history. That's where I wasted a lot of time. And now, of course, you can see. Actually, that's a bug, right? We should restore where we were, but because I did pagination loading, we only got up to this point. Anyway, what do I do now that every other website does? Because it just works. If the user wants to see more, they click it and they get the full view, right? That makes so much more sense. So try to think like that. Try to think what's very adjacent or tangible to what you're doing, and it will really help with your design. All right. So now that we have an idea of what our post is going to look like, a title, an image, a description, potentially a progress name under the title, and then a couple of buttons after, we can modify our data a bit to kind of give us the final design, or at least the most temporary and up-to-date design of what a post will have. And I realized I didn't describe this too well last time, and I kind of beat around the bush or whatever. So we had said a post takes a title and a description, and we can see that in the post inputs here, title and description. Because we're going to have many data fields, it doesn't make sense to pass each individually, or we'll have just title, description, image, progress name, whatever. You know what I mean. So let's actually just get rid of this. All right, so I made a really silly mistake the first time I recorded this, so I hope I undid everything and it looks the same as this is going to be inserted in. Anyway, we have a single post, and it's going to be passed as the post variable into post here. So here it is, right? So we got rid of the title and description input that we're doing here. And so now post is still expecting a title and a description variable. That was previously the input, remember? So this is erroring. What can we do? We know post is going in, right, as this, and we know that post has a title and a description as defined here. So what we can do really easily, we're going to make a different file for this eventually, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to copy this interface, which basically defines a new type. This is TypeScript, so it likes to be really well defined of what types you're working with. Let's move to post and add this interface here. We're actually going to call this a post, and we're going to say it's going to have a title and a description, definitely. So let's go here. Instead of looking for a title and description, let's just look for the post.title and the post.description. Now what happens? Everything's working again. That's great. All right. I hope that wasn't too confusing. And now you'll see why it would be good to centralize everything, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. Not only this, but we're going to have an image, and that's going to be a string for now. We can say image source, and let me turn this guy off again. And then we can also have, let's just do number of comments. And that will be our first, I forget how to do this. I should have had that back. Numeric, that's what it's called. Man, what is it called in TypeScript? Number of comments will be a int, probably. I don't know. We'll figure it out in a sec. Cannot find name int. Man, okay, this is why these are good. How do I define a numeric or integer type in TypeScript? Number. Okay. There's a million ways to do this in every language, but once you know one, you know them all. All right, great. So now in our post here, we will also have, and I should really centralize this, but I'll do that as cleanup after. Okay, we're going to have a title, description, image source, and then number of comments. Title string is missing from the following. Okay. So what is it saying? This is great, and this is why this is why TypeScript is awesome, actually. So we have all this data, and it's throwing an error. It's saying, hey, we only have a title and description. Where is the image source that we expect to make sure our data integrity is good, and where is our number of comments, right? So that's exactly what we can add. Let's find a nice picture of a turtle, maybe. Who is this guy? All right. I think this is pretty cute. Let's save this. Turtle. Dot whatever it was. Okay, use JPEG. Great. And let's see this guy. And let's copy it. And let's throw it in our assets folder here. If we can. I think I have to do this. And then drag and drop to our assets, which I've lost. Here we go. Okay, now we have turtle. Okay. So he's really nice. All right. Let's go back to our landing page where our data is, and we can say, let's turn this back on because this guy will help us. Let's have image source, and okay, it's actually recommending placeholders, so we can do that everywhere. So let's just remember, these guys are really good for modifying the data. Please look at the interface for post and add an image and a number comments to each data. Whatever. So let's see what it does. And again, these are why these are really, really good. Because they will just copy paste, do this a bunch of times for us. Okay, it changed it to image for some reason. Description, number of comments. Okay, perfect. It did that for us. And post here. Okay, it did the same thing. Okay. And now let's turn this back on so we can start learning. How do you show an image? In HTML, this is how you embed an image. You put a new image object, and you have to pass a source. And that source is going to be, if you remember, our post.image. All right? Oops, let's rearrange these now. Get rid of this. Again, I'm sorry about the one monitor. Type is missing from the following problem. Okay, I apologize. I'm going to keep cutting this video up because it's been so long. I'm actually developing the iOS app right now, which I'm excited to do that as the series next, and Android after that. So I've forgotten a lot of the syntax for this stuff. So you're going to see things kind of appear and reappear, so I apologize for that. But let's just talk about what I did. So when you put an exclamation point in TypeScript, that just means it's definitely going to exist. And since posts will only be populated when we have data coming in here, right? It's kind of it existing spawns it existing. We're going to put that it's definitely going to exist. TypeScript is very strict like that, so we're just putting the exclamation point here. The image that we put in, so remember how I had it put a bunch of data here? Guess what? These placeholder images that it's recommending for us don't exist. So what I'm going to, remember we did the turtle. If that gets cut out, we found a nice turtle to use as an image. We're actually going to copy that path, and I'm going to say to it in landing page, please change all the images to point to assets turtle.jpg. And I think it should be super simple. It's just going to do /assets/turtle. But just in case, I don't want to waste more time, and I'm just having to do it. Yep, perfect. So let's go back here, see what we got. Wow. Look how cool this is. So off the bat, we can see there's a few things, like it's not centered, stuff like that, but we're really getting there. So now let's dive back into some of our styling. So in the bottom row, we're going to have buttons in a row. And if I were to just put another comment button, so let's say I did the same thing, but it doesn't have the post button class because we don't want that styling. And I want the post dot number of comments here. Comments. 12 comments. Okay, this is actually good. This is exactly what we wanted. They are in a row, so that's great. I thought I would have to put another row here and center them, but they're next to each other, and that's perfect. So we definitely know that the post button, we need some spacing to the right of it. So let's go back to our post button that we defined globally here. And we'll say margin right. And again, let's just give it 0.5 rem. So now we have that space. Very good. And then, so let's just call this like button. And we'll go back to post. And we'll change this to like button. And we'll make another class called comment button. We'll go back here. And we'll say comment button, and this will use the same thing, the border radius from before. So now they should be styled the same. Okay, great. Look at that. All right, what else is wrong here? Well, let's do some other stuff. I want to see what will happen if we have a really long title and a really long description. So let's go to some of these, and we'll say, which one did I like? I like the beautiful sunset. So let's just do that, add a space. Okay, we'll keep all that, we'll keep all, so it stops showing like that. Well, you're seeing the red and green, that's the difference between each one. Okay, and then what if there's a really long description as well? So let's take that, let's copy it, same thing. Now let's look over here, how's this look? All right, it's kind of wrapping, it looks okay. And this is wrapping, it looks fine too. What do we do on Opus? We actually center the image, right? We center the image, and then these are left aligned. So let's do that same thing here. Let us now define a class to put our image in. Right here. And do we have a post image class already? Post image. Max width. I don't know why it's saying this. Okay. So for images, what we're going to do, we're going to have no max width. And it is fitting. Okay, perfect. So it put a class that we didn't like. That's perfect. We don't have to center it at the moment because it's automatically centering itself because it's just taking its max width that it wants to. It has a nice border radius, that same one that we defined. And it's also centering itself just in case, but this is extraneous at the moment. And that's the auto height. Perfect. So this is starting to look a little better. And let's say that's good for now, right? Okay. What's another thing, though? We have a background color, and then the posts are white. I think that looks much better. So let's actually do this. Let's reverse these colors here. So again, let's inspect this. Go back to desktop. Take this background color, look at the dropper. This is the background color, and we want white to be the opposite. So let's actually call the post image, or let's call the post itself, has this background. Let's call this white. Okay? And it has that background now. And then we can do that same thing here. We have a primary color, a background color, and a secondary color. We'll actually say a new one called main color. Let's call that white. Let's go back to post. Let's get rid of where we're manually putting white, and we'll do main color. See if that worked. Okay, great. So what I also want to do actually is on the landing page where we have sidebars defined, let's give them that same thing. Instead of this background color, let's give them the main color. Okay, great. That's looking much better. And actually, it would look better if we did the same thing where if everything else had that background color and only our items stood out, right? So let's actually look here. What is this? Feed has some border on it. We don't really like that. We don't really need that. Let's actually get rid of that. So where do we have feed defined? Here, it has a background color. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the padding. There's no reason for that. And there's no reason for a border radius. Okay, it still has a border. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Right, that's much better, I think. Now it's centered, now it has everything. Now how do we add the background color to everything else except for these? Well, when we looked here, everything is contained in this HTML actually, right? So I think what we can do is go to our styles. Anywhere there's HTML, let's give it a background color of the variable background color. All right, now look at that. That looks much, much better. So let's go here. I do like this background color. I'm kind of biased towards it. And let's find out what that is. So again, go here. Pull up our color picker, pick that, and let's make that our background color. Oh, what happened there? Oh yeah. Okay, now let's go here. All right, that's starting to look much better. But we want our header to stand out, right? So let's go to our header. And we'll say background color is variable main color. Okay, that's something kind of funny happening. It is so thin. On the H3, okay, so H3 is built into the HTML. It's giving it this kind of crazy margins. Let's actually set, let's think about that. Let's set the header to have padding on top and bottom. So let's do padding. Padding will add some substance inside your component. So let's do padding. I believe the first one is going to be the X and the second one is Y. Let's just check. Let's do 1 rem. Okay, it's the opposite. So 1 rem will be the up and down, and then 0 will be the sides. Okay, look at that. So now we have padding up and down around it. That's too much. Let's do 0.5. And that's even too much itself. Maybe 0.25. And I'm going to just keep adjusting that bit by bit until I like the amount it has. Okay. And now let's add that border. And let's give that border radius. That we had defined all here, remember? We're using that border here and that border radius here. Okay, great. So we can actually see we have an indent that's consistent everywhere. I believe that's 1 rem. Let's see where we have that coming from. Left sidebar, we have the padding, excuse me, that's where that's coming from, of 1 rem. So let's actually change what we did in the header. Instead of having no padding on top, let's change it to 1 rem here. Okay, so why is that causing that? Let me think about that. When that was 0, why is it pushing it like that? I thought we gave it a max width, which we did. So what happens if we do that? Yeah. Actually, can't remember what's causing that at the moment. So let's just stick with this for now, okay? I apologize for that. There's going to be something that's causing that to happen. One thing we can do to cheat for this is for the H3 here, just in the header, we can say padding left equals 1 rem. Little cheat. We'll come back to that and figure it out. Okay? So now we have a consistent left padding. And let's actually define that globally. We won't change it everywhere, but you get the point. We'll do main padding, and that's 1 rem. And then header. Again, we want to do this once and not have to have a bunch of stragglers everywhere. We'll do var main padding. Okay, should be the same thing. Perfect. Now we're starting to look much better, right? I know it's a little bit different, but we're starting to get there. All right. So what are some other things that we notice here that we like? Well, obviously the font is a little bit better, but there's also these nice color highlights, right? Those are looking really good. And yeah, and we kind of need a logo, right? We're starting to get there. So what are we going to do for a logo? Well, there's a bunch of different things you can do, but we already have one image available, and that's our turtle. So why don't we add a turtle as the logo at the moment? So we'll do image, same thing we did here, right? And we could actually make a new component for this, but I'm not going to do that right now. That way it's reusable. We can keep doing it over and over again. In header, let's add this image. In the source, it's actually going to be, remember, it's assets.turtle.jpg. And we're not going to have that. Assets not contained. Sorry, .jpg. Property assets does not exist on header component. Unexpected token on column 1. Assets.header.jpg. Oh, so maybe we're not passing it as a variable. We're passing it as absolute path. Okay, now we have that in our header. So now we can do what I was going to do before. And let's actually make a new class called logo. And if you are doing this in VS Code, you can just do period and then logo and then press tab. And it'll create a new div with the class inside of it. So that was super useful. And in the class logo, we are going to display it in a row, right? So like this and like this. So we'll do display. There's a million ways to do this. Display flex. Let's see what that does now. And then we'll do flex direction row. Okay. All right. So now they're lined up like that. And then let's make a new class for this called logo image. We'll go back to header dot logo image. And let's say it's going to be width of 20 pixels and height of 20 pixels. And there's one more thing we have to do when you're always displaying something in a row. You have to tell it how to center things. So we're going to do justify items center. Oh, that is absolutely not what we wanted. Logo image, it's way up there. Maybe it's not. Oh, sorry, it's not justify items, it's align items center. Okay, great. So now they're aligned. And one more thing we have to do? We have to give it the logo image or the logo itself. Let's look at this. We have the H3. Here's what we can also do in here. Just in here, we'll give the H3 to the right. Margin, because we're pushing it outside of it now, margin right of 1 rem. That's way too much. 0.5 rem. Okay. And I think the turtle could look a little nicer potentially if it was a circle. So let's do this. Border radius. Remember we had done that for our corners. Well, actually, if you use that same thing, but you make it if you make it the radius of your image, that will perfectly make it a circle. So our width and height is 20. Let's make the border radius 10. And now we have a circle turtle logo. All right? All right. So what are some other things that we're missing here? We're really close to having what's here, but we're missing those highlight colors. We're missing the usernames and stuff like that. So it doesn't look that great at the moment. Let's kind of fix that, right? So let's, I guess, add usernames in profile images to each post because, someone's making them. So again, go on Reddit or something and find like which one you like. Reddit actually doesn't put the username, or sorry, they don't put you don't put the username in Reddit. You actually only put the profile picture, or you actually put the name of the subreddit that populates the field, the post. So we're not going to do that, but that's cool for them. So I think a nice user to be posting about their friend Turtle is, either Turtle himself or herself, or Mrs. Turtle or Mr. Turtle, talking about how much they like their spouse. But maybe it would be their really good friend, Kangaroo. Not that kangaroo. They're looking a little mean. This guy, he's cute. He's beautiful. Shout out to whoever took this picture. We're only going to use these temporarily. Please don't sue me. So let's save that image as kangaroo.jpg or whatever. Maybe you don't have to do that. Okay. And sorry about that. Oh, it didn't work actually. I don't know why it does that. .jpg. I'm going to do that. I don't know if that'll work. Sorry, let me move this out of the way. It keeps popping up. We'll go hide this. You'll see how many takes it takes me to do this. It's like an embarrassing amount. And there's definitely a better way to do this. There's definitely a command to like move things that I should be showing you guys, but I'm not doing that. So to our post, let's add, and I should really define this now, but I'm still not going to do this. Let's add a username. That'll be a string. Actually, we can do that because we have the AI tools here to help us. And again, these are one things they are good at. And we have a profile image, which is a string. So this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say in landing page and in post.ts, we have the post interface. Please move this into a centralized file where the landing page interface is correct. then import that model or type, whatever it's called, into both those files. So let's see what it's going to do. It should move them to a single file where this is just defined, and then it should just import them. And that's how lazy I've become. Yep, it made a new folder called models. That's great. And we have our post model. Perfect. Title, description, interface, user. Yeah, okay, perfect. Landing page, and now imports post here. And then imports post here. So what do you expect to see now? Oh, let's rearrange this. It's erroring because, again, our data source, which are a bunch of posts, right? We're resolving to posts. That's why our API is returning posts. Actually don't comply to the type that we have, because now we have title, description, image, number of comments, username, and profile image, right? That doesn't happen here. So we need to fix that. It's missing the data. So to each post in our get posts from API, please make the username image assets kangaroo and give each a username. And this is why TypeScript is nice. But you can also see that as your data changes, it makes it harder and harder to catch up on. So that's why it's very important to have your design made up front. I know that's counterintuitive to what I said at the beginning of the video, but that's one of the learning lessons I went through. There's a whole lot of things you have to take into account before something is made. And speaking from experience, that was one of the hard things about using this stack to build something that was kind of changing dynamically. So let's go back here. Now it compiles, but what are we missing? We haven't added the data to our HTML, right? We actually don't have the username and profile picture available here at all yet. Also another thing, as your data changes, as your manipulation changes, I'm going to show you in a couple videos once we get this actually running on a server, how you can automatically make the website, if anyone has it open, update. It listens for update every time you push a change to your server, and it will update it on the user's page in real time. Actually, you might have seen in the beginning, I don't know if that would happen if I open it here, something popped up and it said this site has updated, please reload the page. That's called a service worker, and we're going to do that. Okay, so now let's add a profile picture to our HTML, and that's again going to be in post. So that's going to go above the title, and we're going to call this profile row. Okay, and we are going to have our profile picture. So let's make a profile picture class, and again you just press tab to auto-complete that, and it's going to be an image. And I actually had an idea that it would be cool to use a video, like a boomerang on Instagram, as people's profile images, but it would be profile videos. That would be kind of fun. Maybe we'll try doing that in a bit. And we're going to say the source is equal to our it's going to be the post.image. Okay. And the post.image is not working. Why is that? Oh, because it's Angular, so we have to give it the input. Okay, and that is not correct. Oh, excuse me. It is the post.profile image. Post title, post.profile image, right? Okay, so, oh my goodness, I put it in the wrong place. Great. And now let's get some styling to our profile picture. profile picture. I'm sure most people that make YouTube videos have everything they're gonna do already typed out and they just copy paste it. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. These are gonna be a little slower, but we're doing it real time. And we'll do width equals 50 pixels and height 50 pixels, ballpark, right? Okay. So what's actually happening? I put the class on the div above it. Let's put it on the image and see what happens. Nice. All right. One thing that's important, I should say, I'm putting the profile picture as width and height as the same. If this was a portrait image, so iPhone picture. If it was a profile, a portrait image, these are all square actually. Okay, let's say it was landscape like this, where it's wider than it's taller. That actually would not work, right? Because then you're going to be forcing this to be the same height and width. So you want a square image. So when we get around to uploading profile images, you'll see mine. Let's go back here. We're going to force the user to use an image that's perfectly square every time. Okay, perfect. And so we're seeing them stack on top of each other. That's because we need to put them in a row. And we already made a class for a profile row here. So let's just do that here. Let's put it in order. I'm sorry that's doing this keep all. That's a side effect of using the AI thing. There's probably a way to turn that off, but I don't know. Profile row, and we're going to do display. Remember, flex, flex direction, row, right? Let's save that. Profile row. Oh, and I didn't even put the username. Duh. And let's see if we can use H4, which is slightly smaller than H3 for this. So we are going to use post.username. Okay, doesn't look too bad. H3 automatically puts H3 and H4s and anything built in, they are automatically put spacing top and bottom. I actually don't like that. And it actually might be easier if we just don't use that at all. But just for this, I'm going to make H4. I'm going to say margin 0. If that's margin or padding, I don't know which one it is. And then let's line them up. Align items, center, right? And then let's give the profile image, I suppose. You can also do gap in display. You can give gap in between. Let's actually ask him because I forget how to do it. How do you, let's do this. How do you add gap between flex items? 1 rem. Let's see. Oh, okay. Easy peasy. So we should have done that down here, right? But all good. We actually didn't end up having to use that. Okay, so that's looking great. Again, let's make our profile picture have border radius of 25 pixels. It's a circle, and now let's add some space under our profile row. So let's go to margin bottom. We'll do 1 rem. We have nice space now, and this is starting to look much better. Actually, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I think it's a little big for my liking. So let's do 40 pixels. And you can see why having it be dynamic would be much better in this case, which is something I should be doing. And I think that looks much better. I also want to give this a border. So let's do our border of var border. Okay. But I think a border would look nice. So let's border of a different color. So let's actually do something funny, and let's do the border of text color. That way it's consistent against everything. Oh, and I guess I haven't defined text color here. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, I did. Text color. Dun, dun, dun. Text color. Is it actually there? Profile picture, image. Where did I put it? Profile picture, border, var. Oh, what am I doing? 1 pixel solid text color. Okay. You can actually see, I think it's clipping a bit. Maybe not. Maybe not. Throughout this process, I'm going to be very meticulous about everything. I like things looking very good. So if I notice a little bit, maybe it's flattening up here a bit, which I think it is, but we'll address that later. Okay? What's something else happening? Something quite doesn't feel right about it, and I think, for now, let's keep that how it is. Okay? One thing we can also do in our profile row, we have this, we can add a follow button, we can add some other stuff, but for now this is starting to look good. Let's actually give a little gap to our description where this is, class post description, and we'll give it actually post image, let's do that. We'll do margin bottom, and that'll be our variable. All right, let's just do 0.5 rem for now, and we're going to standardize all this in a bit. That looks good. And same with our post description. Let's give it a margin. So we said margin 0, but we're going to give it a margin bottom now. Okay. And I think previously we had added space on top. That was true. Like button, comment button. Maybe we didn't. Okay. That is fine. Oh, we did give a margin top to the like button. Let's get rid of that. So you can see there's a lot of iterations, blah, 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 so and so. Okay, great. So this is starting to look much better. Beautiful photographer, beach photographer, took this beautiful sunset of turtle. And, you know, we're starting to get there. I like doing these little touches, these borders and stuff like that. We could even add our nice border to our logo here, but we're not going to do it now. One thing I'm going to fix now, if I can remember how to do it, see how this is scrolling inside and outside? I don't like that. I completely forget how to do this, and this is actually really easy to mess up. So let's fix that right now. So I'm actually going to ask him, and I wanted to mention this. These are not for you to learn from necessarily. These are for you to use, and then you sanity check them. Okay? So let's say this. I want to make a landing page have the feed scroll actually just scroll on the whole body of the page. No scroll inside of it. How do I do this? It'll give you some solution, and then you have to be the one to sanity check it. Let's see. And so by getting familiar with this, okay, let's see what it did. It removed the min height. Okay, let's see this. Okay, that did exactly what we wanted it to do. So it went to the landing page. It removed that minimum height. Okay. Sorry, it added the minimum height. It got rid of the max, or the default 100 VH. Remember, VH is the screen height. Oh, and we can see the header is moving. We'll fix that in a second. Align self start. I wonder if you really need that. You don't. Right? You don't need that. And then it got rid of that. Okay, we'll keep that. So that was really easy. So all we had to do, remove the empty feed, remove the unnecessary comment, and removed this. So it was the overflow Y. Auto was actually doing that. Okay? Perfect. Now let's make the header sticky. We'll go to header, and we'll make it, I think we make it, I think we do sticky. I think that's what you do. Nope. I don't remember. I'm going to ask it. How do I make the header always on top? I tried using sticky. didn't work. It might do position 0, for example. That's saying, or top 0 position sticky. Let's actually try that. I'm going to interrupt it. I'm going to say top 0. Kind of, right? Actually, it might have worked. Let's see how Opus does it. Kind of. You know what the problem is? The sidebars actually have their tops on them. So sidebars are defined here, which they should be their own component. We'll move that out soon. They have the top defined here. Right. So what's actually going on, I believe, is we have all this stuff that needs a defined height. So I'm actually going to do this. Look, we have the sidebar heights. It's saying it's going to be 2 rem. So we had top is this. Let's actually do this. Let's give header a fixed height. So let's call it height, I don't know, 80 pixels. Okay, let's see what that does. That's too big. 50 pixels. Not good. 60. Okay, good enough. And then what do we have for padding on the bottom? The padding on the above it is from the grid container. Okay, so that's actually a one rem gap. So if you think about it, we have 50 pixels plus 1 rem gap. So actually we should make our sidebars be this doesn't matter. We don't have to have this height calculation here. Let's give the top 50 in CSS you can calculate 50 pixels, and we should really be doing this as a consistent thing, plus 1 rem, 1 unit. So let's do that. Does not work. Let me ask. I made the header sticky on top, but now these sidebars scroll up too. Let's see what's saying. Adding Z index so the header so it stays on top. Upping the sidebar top to use header actual height 60 so it doesn't scroll. I'm not sure why it's doing the Z index like that. I don't think we need the Z index. Z index pretty much means, if you think about the website as a 3D stack where this is X, this is Y, or like X, Y, the Z is the depth. So it's putting it way high for some reason. You don't have to do that at all. Let's go header. Let's get rid of this. There's no reason for that. Same thing. Okay. Much better, right? Now it's starting to look more exactly what we're looking for. Okay. I know this is kind of getting hectic, so let's move sidebar out of the landing page because we're going to use it in so many places. Let's put it in our main styles, and we can clean this up a bit. HTML and H3 should definitely be at the top because they're built in. And we'll go biggest to smallest, like that, like that, like that. Okay, go here. Sidebars still have their properties. So now anytime sidebar is defined, it will, anywhere on the website, it will still look the same. We don't use left sidebar. We don't use right sidebar. Right? Okay, good. All right, this is looking much better. It's looking closer to a website, right? Maybe. Not quite. Let's add some buttons to the header, and let's add some better styling to our sidebars. I actually didn't notice that the sidebar had, okay, the H3. Let's get rid of that. Globally, I'm actually going to make our H3 have margin 0. Oh, and that completely broke this. That's probably a dumb idea what I just did, but let's just go with it anyway. So we need the logo to be centered in the div. So we want everything to be centered actually in the header, right? So actually in our header, we can do we already have display flex? Let's see if we can do that. Display flex, align items, center. Perfect. To me, this looks so much better. And now it doesn't matter like where it's positioned, what's around it, what's below it. It's going to look much better, and no matter how you change the content, it's going to have, the different, it's going to be centered. So that's perfect. So we have our logo. So everything is centered there, but you know what we want? We want some buttons to log in and out, right? So let's actually add a new section, and we'll call them sign buttons. Okay? And what we're actually going to do here is, and there's probably a much better way to do this. I'm trying to think. Yeah. What I'm actually going to do with header is I'm not going to make it display flex. I'm going to make it, we're going to justify content. Let's see what space between does. And then let's add a button here. You'll see what we might have just done. Button, sign up. Okay, so look at what we've just done actually. The justify content space between will actually evenly distribute things. So if you have multiple things here inside the justify content space between is affecting this header. So these different sections, logo, sign buttons, will be evenly spaced. That's great. So now our kind of hack to get the logo to have the left padding is going to bite us in the butt because we did this, remember? But let's keep that. And then header, let's see what happens if we do that. We have padding. I think we can get rid of this. Okay, I really don't like how it's doing this difference view. Let's see what happens when we do this. Okay, I'm not sure why it's doing that. Instead of max width, let's just do width. See if that does it. No, it's not. Let's see what the actual width is coming out to. It's coming out to 1234. 1200. That's really weird. All right, so for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why adding that padding was causing left and right this to grow. I'm not sure if I will have cut that out from the video, but adding sizing border box fix that, actually. So let's change this back to, I think it was max width, main max width. Yep, okay, perfect. So now, look, we got this lined up. We have a sign up button. Let's also add a sign in button. And again, let's do, let's call the sign buttons. Stop doing that. Sign buttons, display flex, flex direction row, gap 0.5 rem. Okay, that looked great. And we also want to give each of these buttons. Let's just globally do this since we keep doing it over and over again. Button will have border radius of var. Border radius. Okay, that's looking good to me. We can remove it here. We can remove it here, so now we don't need comment button, although, you know, we'll definitely have that in the future, so keep it placeholder, and great. Okay, sign up, sign up. All right. So, yeah, we're starting to do much better, right? Okay, I think the last thing we'll do in this video, just make it a little nicer. Let's make these sidebars just look good. So we'll go to our style here. What is missing from our sidebar to make it look good? Well, let's go here. They're kind of better spacing. And a big thing is actually they have icons. They have icons. If we go to Reddit, again, just using Reddit because you don't have to sign in. They have icons down here, right? They kind of have these fold-out things. There's no icons there, but these icons really look nice. What if we go on YouTube? There's icons. I think that's what's doing it. I can't lie. So maybe we can add some icons to these. Just make them look a little nicer. We can make the font a little bigger. And I think that will really do it for us. So for sidebars, what's going on in our sidebars? Let's actually look at them on our landing page. We have a sidebar, then we have H3, and we have a bunch of these. So let's actually ask this. Are there any icons built into Angular HTML we can just use? I want to add some to the left of each sidebar item. Okay, so it's giving us some options. Adding Angular icons. Okay, so this is something interesting that I didn't know for a long time. Let's look at what's changed in the index. It added the link here. Okay, you can import different functionality into your HTML by linking different style sheets. So we're actually bringing in icons through the HTML. This is pretty, what am I trying to say? Usually if you want to add new functionality in Python or something like that, you have to import the library. Remember when we were importing the functionality up here? You usually have to do that. You don't have to do that all the time in HTML. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to install things in Angular on the command line. Right? We'll do that actually pretty frequently as we progress the series. But for now, we don't have to. And actually, this is really nice. It did the primary color that we're looking at when you hover. So let's look at what it did so we're not just cheating and just doing this all the time. So it added the... Okay, let's take a step back. Okay, perfect. In each paragraph... So each one of these is a paragraph. Let's just keep all so it's easier to see. All right, paragraph or P. If it doesn't stand for paragraph, I'm really sorry. I just call it paragraph. It added, remember we've been using, okay, and we can make this over here, 2 in our global styles. And we can actually move these inside. I think you can only do this in SCSS, which is why I used it, but maybe not. Okay, so it said it's going to display flex. Remember we keep using that over and over again to center things on the same row? Well, it did it too. So I'm glad my crazy stuff of doing that here and doing that here and doing that here is what you should be doing and doing it here. It's giving the gap, which you should be familiar with now, and it's giving it a primary color when you hover. That works with me. That's giving the primary color up here. Great. It added marketplace as a thing, sure. It's giving a size of 20, and it's giving it a vertical align of middle. I keep doing the align item center, but I guess you don't have to do that. This is just a different way of doing it. We should have a consistent design theme, but for now, we'll go with that. Sidebar also has one thing I don't like about it, the H3. It doesn't have a good gap. So under here, what do we have for H3 globally? We have no margin. That was my bad. Actually, in the sidebar, we're going to give the H3, oops, let's just undo that, a margin bottom of 0.5 rem. Okay, that's a little better. I'm actually going to give it 0.75 rem. Oh, that was completely wrong. Okay, it's a little better, right? That's a little better. You know what? Let's just give it a whole rem. Screw it. Okay, good. Paragraph, I actually think I want to give them a bigger margin bottom. All right, this is starting to look better, but you know what? Let's also just give them one. So we had the sidebar class still defined in the landing page, and we don't want that anymore. In fact, remember we said everything that uses a grid, we want to be consistent here. Oh, I totally messed that up. Let's just move it to styles, so that way the whole app can find that grid. So now when we have search page, anything else that uses this grid, it's going to be exactly the same everywhere. Perfect. This is looking much better. I think I'm actually going to start using this description font style, which is using this color, 666, which I think is just defined in the post. Yep. So let's rip this, and let's call that variable of, we'll call it muted color, because that's generally what it's referred to. We haven't defined that yet, so you can see it's all black, which is default at the moment. This actually doesn't look too bad as a non-muted color. I actually might keep that there. So let's rip that. But in sidebar, which is in styles, let's make all our paragraph have muted color, and now let's define muted color here. We'll put it right under our other colors, muted color of, I like what it was. What do you think? Starting to get there, right? Pretty cool. Obviously, there's a lot missing. There's a lot more we can do. We can actually make maybe our border radius half a rem. What do you think? Looks a little better. I kind of like how this is starting to come out. Now we can start defining base class for the buttons, for example. So we can say, all buttons. I might have done that already. Yeah, all buttons have this border radius, right? That's fine. That works with me. Okay. But in the future, you know how the header and the sidebars and all of these and all the buttons all have the same border radius? We can define a base class called base, and we can just say border radius equals var border radius. Oops, sorry about that. Anywhere that has this border radius, instead of modifying the the CSS every single time, we can actually just go into the component like header, and we'll call it base header. Okay? Then in header, right, we can get rid of that border radius definition here. And it will still have that consistent because we gave it that new class. That's what's really nice about HTML and CSS. You can mix classes together. So if I were to get rid of base, what would happen? It's now pointed, right? Let's put it back. Perfect. So sidebar, and we'll rename it something else in the future, of course. It has that border radius. All sidebars, and we can put this in the class as well. We'll give them base. We'll give it base. Oops. Awesome. So now it's working. How about post? Let's get rid of it first so you can trust me that what we're doing works. And they also all share a border in common, right? So let's do that. So it's pointing. Call it base. Oops. And we'll get rid of border as well. And we can get rid of main color too. All right. Now let's go to styles, and in base, let's give it that border as var border. And we'll give it the background color as var main. Okay, now everything that we want to have that same style, that consistent style. So our sidebar, we no longer have to give it that background color. We no longer have to give it that border. We no longer have to give it that. Post, we no longer have to give it, yeah, good. Okay, so now everything's consistent and we're centralizing everything. It will really reduce the code. So that was a nice addition that we did there. Let's do that. And yeah, nice addition here. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. Thanks everyone. And I'll show you something cool. Again, I hope you guys post on Opus. I'll show you one of my favorite goals. I really want to learn how to play Swanee River Boogie. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear this. This is how I started playing it. Alright, I really suck. Right? So I completed this goal in 4 months. It's a song I had wanted to learn on piano for a long time. And you can see my whole process. So what's cool about Opus is if you want to learn how to do this in 4 months, just follow this guide. Right? That's what I really love about this. Someone did something. Ooh. New follower. Okay, great. So that's how I started. And I'll show you how I am now. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see some of your goals you guys are working on. You guys, the ones you're completing. If you like piano, show me some of your nice piano goals. And yeah, I'll see you next time.